All right, hi everybody. I'm Kevin Sikowski. I'm a professor at the University of Toledo in the Department of Geography and Planning, and I'm the lead or principal investigator on the project called Globe Mission Earth. And so tonight we're having our third Urban Heat Island webinar for the campaign for Globe. And so we have Angie will be talking and Tracy will be talking. So I'll start off. I'll share my screen here. All right. So we've had two parts of the field campaign so far, October and December. And right now my computer is slowly opening up the PowerPoint. Or maybe it's dying. Oh no. All right, I think my PowerPoint died. Let's see. Sorry about that. Stop sharing. Okay. Now I have to remember where I saved it because I didn't save it where I thought I was saving it. Uh-oh. Oh, here it is. Okay, we'll try again. So what I will talk about is some data I looked at from December. We had a really good December for the Urban Heat On campaign. Over 200 schools participated and we had over 4,000 observations. Okay, so I don't think I'll open it in like a PowerPoint. I'll just have it open as a slides. Let's see here. All right. Okay, so here we are. So we want to see what is making your neighborhood so hot as part of the Urban Heat On campaign if your neighborhood is hot. And we've had students taking observations of surface temperature throughout October and December, and then we have March coming up as our third month of the year. And what is Globe Mission Earth? So Globe Mission Earth is a project funded by NASA. University of Toledo is the lead, and you'll see this is our reach map of all the different places, teachers that participate. We have NASA Langley, and that's where Angie's from. West Ed and UC Berkeley work together, and then Boston University and Tennessee State. And we have other partners like Palmyra Cove Nature Center in New Jersey, the state of New Mexico, and we're adding partners all the time. And as I mentioned, this is our third webinar out of 4 that we're going to have this year. So April 21st will be our next webinar for this, wrapping up the series after our March intensive. And the idea in April will be, what can you do to make your neighborhood less hot? And I mentioned this already, but Angie's going to talk after me, and then Tracy from UC Berkeley in California. So here's some statistics from our campaign this time. So in October, 254 sites, over 6,000 observations. December, it was 300 sites, but 126 schools, over 4,000 observations. And this was a 50% increase from last year. One thing that we also found, though, is that there was, in the last 2 weeks, we've added 50% of the observations, because I checked 2 weeks ago of what was on the Globe website. So obviously schools are entering data from December now, and it's taken them almost a month to enter that data, which I thought was interesting, because I was just above 2,000 observations in to end of January, and now there's there's many more. And then also just want to point out Brazil, South Korea, and India participated in the field campaign for the first time. And very hard to read this, but I just wanted to highlight some of the schools. I put them in order. There's a school in, I believe it's Saudi Arabia. They had 589 observations. That's a lot for 1 month in December. But Main Street School in Norwalk, Ohio had 193 observations. That's really cool. And there's really a lot of schools in Saudi Arabia that took observations. But we also had a number in the United States as well. And so I put the data into ArcMap online, ArcGIS online, and I sized the dots by the number of observations that were taken. And you can see the distribution of the observations. You know, we have the United States, some in Alaska, Brazil, Europe had some, as well as Croatia had a lot. And then Saudi Arabia and Oman, some in India, and then in Taiwan. And this was the day with the most observations at one time. It was on December 5th. Kind of see the temperatures. You know, on the December webinar, I talked about snowfall, and we had the early snow in the United States in November. And so I was really excited about a really good winter. And then of course it turned warm. I always like to see what the surface temperature is like when there's snow on the ground. So we pretty much had no snow on the ground all of January, you know, December and January. Now we have snow that we're in the February again, but we kind of missed out on that. Europe also didn't have a lot of snow. I did a little quick look at some data. I did this with the Globe Observer, or the visualization system. I clicked on Shoemate Middle School. They're the blue dots here. And then Crestwood High School in the Detroit area. And Crestwood would be considered an urban one, and Shoemate a rural school. And you see any days when we have, or many of the days when there's data on the same day, Crestwood had warmer surface temperatures than Shoemate, which supports the urban heat island idea. You know, I was thinking maybe we'll see if this works. I wanted to zoom in on some of this data that I collected, because what we want students to do now is to maybe pick a pair of schools, look at a rural versus an urban school. And so if we, actually this one had the boundaries on it. So this is the Toledo area. And you can see the observations that were taken during the campaign. You got Shoemate Middle School, here's Crestwood High School, a number of schools in Toledo. Janie, I believe this is your school out here. I think it's St. Patrick's. Bowling Green, Jody Haney had the university students taking observations. So if I zoom in, oh, okay. I'm having trouble zooming in carefully. Yeah, I should practice this stuff, right? So we can see that there are urban schools, and then this one's a rural over here, Clay High School. Bowling Green, I would consider most of it urban, but what's interesting, they took their observations on campus, and there were a number I would call urban, and then one on the sports fields, which is getting on the outskirts of town here. They also took an observation down here in the farm field. So kind of really getting urban, or rural, sorry, getting rural. Okay, out here. So you can kind of see how a student could pick rural observations and urban and compare them and see, are the urban areas warmer than the rural areas? And, you know, it may be all the time and maybe not all the time. This is Lakewood Academy here in Cleveland, very urban school. The other thing is Mansfield and I think Norwalk, both these schools are in small urban settings. Now, what I really would like to do is have schools where people take observations outside of these little cities to see the difference between inside these little villages or towns, cities, and then outside to see what is the urban heat island effect for these small cities. We know the big cities have an urban heat island effect, but we don't know about the small. Sorry about my fumble fingers here. And Mansfield, the same idea. We zoom in. You can see it's right in the heart of the, the small city. Okay, so that's some of the data, and the students can, of course, we want them to do projects based on the surface temperature field campaign, and then present those projects. So, and at the University of Toledo on May 6th, we will have the Satellites Conference, and of course, people in the area can come to that, students in the area can come to that. And then there are the regional US Symposia, the SRSs, and this year for the Midwest, it's going to be at the University of Wisconsin between May 1st and 3rd. And you have to check the Globe website for the regional SRS near you. The International Virtual Science Symposia projects are due March 10th. And then in order to go to the annual meeting this year, a student has to be chosen from one of these other competitions or venues. So I wanted to bring that up. You just can't go to the annual meeting this year. Students can't present there unless they're chosen. And these are our, we call that contact information. So anyway, I'll stop sharing there. And I wanted to introduce Angie. She's from NASA Langley, and well, she's going to help us look at how NASA is looking at the data.
Hi, I'm going to share my screen. So we have what I wanted to show actually is, oops, sorry, how to use our MyNASA data website to download some data for these student projects, and then also how to upload that or import it into a spreadsheet, because that's what Janet asked me to do. So just want to point out that on MyNASA data, we do have a full team of people that work on this. It's not just me. So I thought this would be fun. Some people may have seen this before, but different people have different comfort levels of working with data with their students. And so my hope here is that if you're not the, this is so my jam kitty, that you at least move up a level by the end of this information tonight. Okay, so this is what the MyNASA data landing page looks like. And I just wanted to point out to you that you can see here, hopefully you can see it okay, that the website has a bunch of different spheres. So we have the atmosphere, biosphere, cryosphere, geosphere, and hydrosphere. We also have Earth as a system. If you want to get into our visualization tool, you're going to want to click on the Visualize Data link here. And I did put some links in the chat for you. The website itself is organized by sphere, as I just showed you. And so the visualization tool then is also organized by Earth sphere, which is very nice. And I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the old version of MyNASA data, but we've reorganized these data sets so that they're a lot easier to find, and they make a lot more sense. So if I were to click on, say, Geosphere, then you'll see here that under each sphere, you have the option of all data or our featured phenomena, because the website is also organized by phenomenon. If I expand those, all data under Geosphere, we see different topics, and then we also see the Geosphere phenomena. As of now, we've got volcanoes, soil moisture, and urban heat island. And then you can see here we've got the skin temperature, which is basically surface temperature, that I expanded even further. But I'm going to actually get in and do this live. I just wanted to point out how the data are organized. Also want to point out that there are tutorials available. I did put that link in the chat as well. And so there are tutorials for how to use the visualization tool, but there are also tutorials on bringing that data into Excel or Google Sheets. Okay, so I want to go into, this is the website here. Here's my Visualize Data tab. Here you can find those tutorials. The Earth System Data Explorer is the tool. Depending on your browser, you may have this here and you just click OK. So I'm going to increase the zoom here so you can see this a little better. When you first get in, then you're going to want to select a data set. So all these data out here are NASA data sets. That's something that would be important for you to know. And what I think is valuable about these for the students is that these data are historical. They are typically monthly data sets, and they typically do lag by at least a few months. So while the students may not be able to compare it to the measurement that they made today or this week, what they can do is go back and look at historical trends for their location or another location that they want to compare to, and they can also see, are their data reasonable? Do they make sense, okay? Or is there some change occurring? So if I were to go in here and select, well, let me go in by the phenomenon just for the fun of it under urban heat island. So I'll take the daytime surface skin temperature, and you can see here that we have this nice map that loads, and it has defaulted here to a particular date, which is the first day, the first month of data, I believe, that's available. So the other thing that you may be interested in is this data set description here. It's written in a little bit more everyday language, and then it also gives you details on how the what the unit is that's being used. So that's a helpful tool. You can close it if you want more room on your screen. You can open it back up by clicking on annotations again. So I'll close that for now. So you have this nice map image, which is wonderful, but let's say I want to look, okay, we're in February now of 2020, so let's look at February of 2019. Now I changed the date here, but the image didn't change. In order to change the image, I need to click on Update Plot, and if I check this little box next to it, then it will automatically update anytime I make a change. So I'm going to do that to make it a little easier. So hopefully you did notice that there was a change when we changed this to February of 2019. Okay, so this visualization tool has a whole bunch of different data sets. You can pull them up. You can get these wonderful mapped images. But what if you want to save that image? In order to save an image, you're going to want to click on Print up here. And then it'll pop up in another window, and you're going to want to then right click, and you can either save it or print it to a PDF. I personally prefer printing it to a PDF, but it's your choice. But the reason that we recommend doing it and using this print button to do that rather than just right clicking from this screen here is so that they're always the same size every time you do it. Then it'll be easier if you want to use them in some sort of presentation or something like that. So you can change the date here, which is great. So it's just updated. There is an animate tool, which I don't think I have time for this evening, but please feel free to contact me or look at the tutorials if you're ever interested in that. Okay, so now we looked at the map. We can also zoom in on an area if we want to do that. Oops, I'm sorry, I put my box on the wrong place. Zoom in on an area. Okay, There we have it. We've zoomed in, and you can save these images as well. Okay. So we can also, if you notice over here on the left-hand side of the screen, Maps is clicked, but you can go down here and click on Time, and you can get a time series graph. Okay, so it's really nice. You can see the seasonality here. Let's say I just want to look at maybe 5 years of data. I can change the dates over here, and I have this nice graph. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing if I want to save this graph. I'm going to click on Print. I'm going to right click and I'll either save as or print to a PDF. Does anybody have any questions? I feel like I'm going quickly. Okay. So this is nice. I can change this time range. I can enter, if you notice here in this area, underneath this little miniature map, you've got a specific latitude and longitude numbers in here. And so it's one specific location. You can change this, and you'll put in one location, and so you can change where you're looking as well as the time. I can also download these data. If I want these data and I want to maybe do some more complicated graphing, or I want the students to do it themselves, I can download it as a CSV file. So I'm going to click Save As here, and I will definitely zoom in on this so you can see it. Whatever date you had will already be pre-populated, as well as the latitude and longitude that you had in there. And you'll want to select CSV. You can change the date at this point, but not your latitude and longitude. And then you're going to save it. Now it opens up another window, so it hasn't really saved the file yet. And what you're going to want to do is right click and then say Save As. And then you're going to want to go here and under All Files, you're going to want to call this test file, whatever you're going to call it. I'm going to put it in here. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Save as, all files, and type CSV on the end of it, which I just didn't do a minute ago. Type CSV on the end of it and save it. Okay. So now I have saved it. Now I'm going to go into my Google Drive, go to create a new blank spreadsheet, and I'm going to click on File, Import. I'm going to say Upload. I'm going to select a file from my computer, the test file. Just leave these defaults and say Import, and it comes in for you. It's all separated out. It's in columns. It's wonderful. Okay, at this point, now, if your students want to make their own graph, I'm going to get rid of time, longitude, and latitude because I'm not particularly concerned about those. So I'm going to delete those columns. I also, because these are monthly data, I really don't like having an actual day on these, so I'm going to format the number, go down here to, I need to get rid of this, more formats, custom, and then I have this here because I use it, but if you don't have that option, you type in MMM-YY, and you can see here that my dates changed. So now it's more clear that these are monthly data. I'm also going to change my column headers. okay, so that they'll look nice when I make a graph. And I'm going to come here and select the data. So now that it's selected, I'm going to just insert my chart. And there I have it. Okay, and if you notice, this nice window comes up over here on the side. I can customize it. For my title, I may want to center that. For my series here, I might want to change the color. I can put markers on it. I can change the size. So I can do all kinds of things to play around with this and customize it. And once I get out of that tool, I can always double click on my chart again and come back in here and re-edit things. So that's what I had. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Okay. I do facilitate subject matter expert connections. So if anybody's interested in that, please contact me and I'll put my email in the chat. And I just wanted to point out that anytime anybody needs any help with my NASA data, I or someone on my team are here to help you, and we would be happy to do so.
Thanks, Angie.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think it's amazing you can find all this data on my NASA data, and it's actual data from NASA. Yeah, so that's really cool. All right, so what I want to do is to show you a poster. Well, the research process in Globe. It was been revamped by the NASA Langley group. So let's see if I can do this well. I'll share my screen. And okay, so that's what it looks like. What I want to do is find it on the Globe website. And so this is sometimes finding things on the Globe website is challenging, as you may know. So let's see. If I go under Do Globe and then go to Student Research Reports. No, oh, you know what? I think I'm already messing that up. Okay, so this is where you would upload your IVSS project, and you'll see examples down here. These are ones that are already posted, so your students can look at them and get an idea what they're like. So yeah, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to go under Community, and because we have to find the US Student Research Symposia website. That's under Community, Globe countries and members, North America. And I don't know if there's an easier way to find this, right? And then you go under United States. All right. Student Research Symposia. All right, and this talks about the dates. We have the calendar here for the different regional symposia. The funding applications were due February 1st. And then registration, here are the dates for that. And we have the different locations. You can pick on, click on it and go and see what's going on, when things are due, what you're going to be doing. All right. So we have the Northwest is going to be in Fairbanks with Elena Sparrow. And then I think Tracy is doing the one in California. That's great. Thanks, Tracy. All right, so that's the symposia. Then you can go under student resources on the left. All right, there it is. So this is the poster that was revamped by NASA Langley group. And it goes through the scientific process. Of course, the NGSS, Next Generation Science Standards, really emphasizes the process of science versus knowing facts. And first step, observe nature, and you have these arrows going to the next one. So this is something you could put up in your classroom. So you observe nature, then you can ask questions about what you've observed and then develop a hypothesis. You can plan to do an investigation, sometimes collecting your own data, which of course in Globe we support or encourage, but also once the data is on the Globe website, people can use it all over the world for their students can use it for their projects. So the students could go onto the Globe website database and get data for their project. Now, it's not a straightforward process, right? So you have a question, you're conducting your investigation, then you realize there's not enough data. So the student may have to go back and change their question or hypothesis and then get some other data. They may realize they have to collect their own data, or if there isn't enough time to collect their own, then they could go on the Globe website and get some of that data and analyze it and interpret their data. They can submit their project to IVSS on the Globe website and then do a presentation. Well, and that could be part of the IVSS. They could give a presentation at the regional symposia or a local one. What we really encourage students is to give more than their research presentation more than once. Scientists do that. We do some research, and then we may give the same talk 6 times. Well, by the time you give it 6 times, you get better at the talk, right? And also you find questions of your own research, or maybe some weaknesses as you're giving these talks and talking to people. So this is a good way to do science. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing that.
Well, another thing, Kevin, is that the students get feedback so they can make their poster better.
Right, that's a good point. Now, Tracy posted in the chat, there might be an easier way to get to the SRS. It's just globe.gov/SRS. That's actually one of the ways I find stuff on the Globe website. I just use Google. I put in the Google search globe.gov and then whatever it is, that's SRS, and Google finds it right away. So that's how I navigate the Globe website faster than trying to find the path. So Janet, did you mention you had the Census sentence starters?
Yes, I do. And so also, this was developed by Tracy's group. As a teacher for 20 years doing science fair projects, it was always hard to get all the parts together. And here is a simple way to get your kids started on organizing their data, their poster, everything in one place. I will zoom in just a minute, but I will first go through the different sections just to give you an overview. All the parts that the students will need to present their research at the symposium are all laid out here in this poster. Now, we know more and more schools are getting have availability to have posters actually printed. But what you can do is make a section for each of the compartments here in PowerPoint, and the students could then just print out the abstracts separately from the research questions and still mount them on the trifolds. So I don't want you to think, well, this is not of any value because I'm not going to print a big poster. No, you could print each section separately. So as I zoom in here, the cool part of, we'll look at the abstract first. It gives you a summary of what is needed in your abstract. So it's got to be concise, less than 200 words, use your research question in very general terms, short and sweet, communicate what your whole project's about. But we found that sometimes that is a stumbling block for some students. So we also have in the section these sentence starters. So if they, just to get them started, and then they can rewrite it once they've got their thoughts down. So our research was about you know, surface temperature in at our school and another location. We chose to do this research because we were part of the Urban Heat Island Effect campaign, and we wanted to see how the surface temperature was around our school, and then the results, and so on. And I will move here for research methods. Notice that, again, you could use it as a check sheet also. If you're a teacher, one thing I did when I was grading is I did have a check sheet. So the students could see what part were what part they were missing. So you know that here it says to have a complete plan. They have at least 2 globe protocols in the plan. That could be 1 globe protocol like surface temperature. Include a map is always good. Describe the protocols that were used and if they used any of the NASA assets, like brought in the satellite data, and so on. And also here at the last part, it says include a Google Earth map and if possible, a NASA satellite image. A lot of our students wouldn't even thought about it. Or as a teacher, when you're doing this in the classroom, you do forget things that you wanted your students to do. So I always had a little check sheet, and you know, we would go through it. Oh, well, you forgot this, so go add that. And it's a good way of making sure that all the things that are necessary is on the poster. Now,
one thing I'd like to mention though is that the students, well, even myself, we try to put too many words on our posters, and sometimes a picture is worth more than you know, 1,000 words. So I would, you know, this sentence starter, there's a lot of different versions of sentences here, but the student doesn't have to fill all of them in. And so, you know, there would generally be less text and maybe some more figures and pictures.
and also, this isn't like you have to have everything. I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin. These are just things that, you know, you might consider, but maybe for whatever protocol you're doing, a Google Earth map might not be something that would make your poster better. And so it's not one that you need to check all the boxes off. I like that. Thanks, Kevin. So the next part is analyzing the data. I love how Angie showed how you can take that data and incorporate it in the Google Sheets, and then make your charts from that. So, and here again, it says that analysis is appropriate to address the research question. And then again, restating the research question here, showing what's in the, explaining what they see in the data, and then providing a summary. And then they show you where the graph would go. And then the last column. This is one thing I find when I'm judging the students' science fair projects, not only for Globe or any, I was just at a local fair. Students are not really going and looking for references, or they'll only have one reference. And so I think of any weakness that I see in general is to make sure that the students know that you still need to go out there and find what has been collected by scientists before, or on the Globe website, what is listed there. And this was one that I found is usually maybe one thing or two. And it's like, well, if you're going to do a research project, you should have at least, you know, and I would promote, you know, 4 or 5, just to make sure everything is that you've really looked into what has been done before.
Yeah,
And
this is still, it's a real problem at the university level as well. I have to work with my students a lot on, you know, having a bibliography and having references. Um,
not Wikipedia.
and,
They don't understand what the difference between websites that are just created by ordinary people and a website that is credible, being that it's a NASA website, a NOAA website, some kind of research website, rather than just something that somebody just created. And then I'll just go up to the last column here. So you can see this goes with discussion, conclusions, and bibliography. So this is a good help. It's on the Globe Mission Earth website under resources.
so we have a discussion going on in the chat room, which is good.
Right.
I personally like that because you can have people discussing with words and people well, they're all words, sorry. Verbally, and people discussing
written.
things, yeah, in text. So, all right, are there any questions about what we presented today? The idea, we'd like students to work on their projects. There's lots of opportunities to present those projects coming up. And we hope to see projects based on urban heat down effect.
And if you do have a project and you would like us to review on our Globe Mission Earth website, you can upload the project. The student can upload the project. Now, don't do it at the last minute, but we could look at it and provide some pointers if you would like. Oh, I saw from Tracy's post that there's a project rubric aligned also. There is a rubric for the teachers.
Oh, and Sarah just posted the link for uploading projects, which is really long.
We have a lot of breadcrumbs.
Yes.
If I could make a comment.
Yes.
I'm doing a globe water cooler tomorrow at 3:20, and I'm actually using the same poster layout that we just looked at, but I'm aligning it to more than just the visualization tool in my NASA data, but many lessons and activities that can help the students in each section. So the cool thing about that is they can have those sentence starters to help them figure out what to write, and then there are activities to help them understand what they're doing in my NASA data.
Very good.
If anybody's interested, they can try to register for that.
But do check out my NASA data. They have really revamped their site, and it's awesome. And it's a work in progress. So if you don't find anything there, keep checking back, because new stuff is being created, and data is being linked together.
Yeah, so Sarah posted the student research upload button for Globe Mission Earth, and it's the website she has there in the chat. And so it's easy to find Globe Mission Earth. It basically lets, you know, globe.gov/web/mission-earth. And that's how you get to it, the website we have for our project.
So in 2016, when we started, I did a Google search on Mission Earth, and there were too many Missions Earths. But if you just Google Globe Mission Earth, all 3 words, you're going to find our stuff pops up in the first 3. So don't worry about it. It's easy to find.
Okay, well, we'll wait for questions if there are any. Yeah, Tracy works with 4th graders. We have worked with even as young as kindergartners, but they can't do the poster themselves, of course, and 1st graders. Generally, what we've seen kindergartners and 1st graders do is draw a storyboard, kind of story map on a piece of paper, a poster board that shows what they did. And then a lot of times a teacher will help them or a parent will help them put things on a regular board. But I'm really happy with the basically the storyboard that the students do using their crayons and stuff.
And
Oh,
usually it's a class project, so it's not just one group. The class then picks 2 or 3 students to represent and present the poster at our satellites conference. So that's if you're in the lower grades, you don't have to have a group of 3. Your class could do the data collecting and then analyze it and just have a few chosen students present it at the at our satellites, or depending on the grade level, you have to be a certain grade level for the other ones. But the SRS, I think they went down to lower grades. I'm trying to think.
oh, 5th grade, yeah. It starts
Yeah,
in 5th grade for the
5th grade.
SRSs. Okay, well, we have the Zoom for the water cooler tomorrow that in the chat box as well, so people can check that out if they want. All right, so I wanted to thank everyone for coming today and dialing in, and I hope, if you have any questions, let us know about, posters or projects or research questions that your students might have. If you want to check, the hard part is narrowing down that research question. Students want to solve global warming, of course, but it takes a lot of little steps to get there.
And also the Globe website has recorded webinars, and just a reminder, all our webinars we have a YouTube channel. And again, you can find that and look at past years of webinars if you would like.
All right, thanks everybody for calling in. See you in April.
Thank you.